Welcome, everyone. This is Polly Noodles, and you're listening to Lotro Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in Lotro and hear Lotro players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin.
Hi!
Sanswinda.
Hello.
Sanswinda?
Hello. Sorry. I saw the dots moving in Mixler.
We're in this.
Hello, everyone.
Aaron this.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tech Issues Week.
And Kilavathian.
Hola.
Hola.
Hola, hola, Coca-Cola.
Wait, what?
Let's head into the game news. Where world transfers have finally been re-enabled. So if you need to transfer a character from one world to another, you will now be able to do it. But of course, we have the usual rules in place. You cannot transfer a character from a traditional European world into one of the US servers or vice versa. You are still only able to go within the ones within the same region. You will be able to transfer characters from Bombadil to either of those two. So that's something to keep in mind in there. Also, please note that name priority is not working properly at this time. So, if the name priority system is of utmost importance for you in getting your character transferred across, I suggest you refrain from doing it at this time, because if you transfer a character over while the rename system is not working properly, the priority is right now going to automatically go to whoever was on the server before, which means you're the one who's going to have to rename your character or live with the -1 at the end of it.
You're going to -1 and you're going to like it.
You'll be really sad if you wind up with a -3 because there are two other people who will have -1 and 2.
But how could that be? My name is, otorhinolaryngology.
7 of 9.
Hey, just find everyone that has the same name and make a new kinship.
Speaking of kinships, kin leaders will need to sell or abandon their kin houses prior to making a transfer. The problem with the name priority and the problem with the kin leaders transferring are two problems that they've been trying to work with for the last month, hoping they could resolve them before opening up world transfers. But Standing Stone Games eventually decided they had to just go and reopening them. There's been too much demand for that, and just make it so that kin leaders will not be able to actually implement the transfer until they abandon their houses. So therefore, if that's only your kin house, so if you are a kin leader, then you'll need to abandon or transfer your kin house before you perform the world transfer. And other than that, you'll be able to transfer your characters from one world to another. I don't know if any of you were anxiously wanting to do this.
Nope.
I didn't think so.
But then I found out that you can only have 50 characters. And now I'm less anxious to have done it, but it's too late.
What, to have created 50 characters, or did you put in a transfer?
Well, I transferred them off of Bombadil, but I transferred them onto Landerval, and definitely had more than 50 characters than on Landerval, and that was a problem. Oops.
Wait, what happened?
I had 51 characters, and then it pops up a screen like, select which characters you want to be active. And so then you select all of them, and it's like, you can buy more slots. So I bought 2 more slots, and then I had 50 slots. And I had 51 characters, and yeah. But after you select 50 or 48 characters, then you select 49 characters, and then you select 50 characters, then you can delete one, and then they all work, I guess. But I had a bunch of level 1s who hadn't done anything yet, so I got rid of one of them. But
Yes.
I
Therefore,
used to
before
think I
choosing
was an alcoholic, but then Sans started talking about how many characters she has, and I no longer think that I have an alt problem.
I was kind
Yeah.
of surprised that she had level 1 characters because I thought she was an Aria-holic.
Well, they were from Bombadil, which she wasn't playing on.
Fair. Well, that's what we're assuming.
the
I'll
one
be
I
really
deleted
excited.
was from Bombadil that I had created but hadn't actually done anything with.
Okay, then that sounds
I
like the most
saved 2 of the
expendable
ones
character.
from Bombadil, though, that were not level 1.
Yeah, I'll be really excited if they can get, ever get world transfers from European servers to American, because then I'll have enough room to bring my Laurelin person over to Landreval, and I
Yeah.
won't have to worry quite so much about never
I'm
playing.
pretty sure they're still not even working on that because they've
They-
pretty much said they can never fix it.
Yeah, I think they've given up on any hope of doing that.
Then I don't suppose I'm ever going to be excited about this world transfer thing then. My point stands.
Yes. Also, please note that they do not at this time have transfers from the closed worlds, meaning by the closed worlds, I'm talking about all the ones that closed a couple of years back when they did the consolidations. You still can't transfer those onto the main servers. They're still resolving a couple of issues on that one, and they are hoping to get those up. And I can tell you for sure that you will be able to do that before they'll be able to transfer them to and from the Euro servers.
Ooh.
We could hope a lot well before then. And that's it what we have on world transfers. Fun little bit in there. Now, let's then head into the next item in here where Saintstone Games has made a post about what their plans are for this year relating to Extra Life, talking about the Saintstone team and what you could do in order to help them. They posted their goals, the group incentives from 5,000 to 20,000, which is their main goal is $20,000. And as of Wednesday, they already passed it.
It is currently $23,228.
Yes.
Nice.
And what was interesting is Cordovan didn't know that they were past 20,000 on Wednesday, and it was actually Drac who told him because he was our guest during the DDO Players News show. So we found out
How
then.
come you guys can get him to guest and we can't get him to guest here?
No, well, because
Finally,
I
Drac
think
is
we've
okay
managed
with
to get
that.
him I think we've managed to get him twice.
Twice. Well, it does help sometimes that DDO Players News broadcasts during weeknights, and we broadcast during weekends, so it
true.
might make it tougher. Because sometimes he's working late at night and in a position where, well, I've done that now. I could. And Drek really caught him at a good time because we're just getting announcements for their expansion on the other side. He also talked about individual incentives, some things that you can get if you make a donation. And then they list the community list of some of the things that are available through the community list, such as event-related titles, housing things, some pets, some fiddles, some steeds, and things like that. So you could just go over to the link in the show notes to see the full details about that. And of course, Extra Life, the Standing Stones team donates the monies that they receive to the Boston Children's Hospital.
Wait, it's a lively slug? Lively
Lively?
slug?
What?
Individual incentives. I just saw that. It's $50. A code for a lively slug pet.
Lively slug.
Does
I mean,
it
if
have
you
a
really
party
want a
hat?
slug pet,
Does it have a party hat? Is it a fiesta slug? I don't understand.
By lively, I would presume it moves faster than normal slugs, maybe?
Well, if it's going to keep up with the player, it would have to.
Which would be a firm nope in my category, categorically denying any desire whatsoever to have it. Nope, 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 nope. Sorry.
You see this little slug inchworming very quickly after you.
Hey, where I grew up, there were slugs. Nothing's worse than meeting a slug barefoot. That's all I'm going to say.
oh, gross.
I thought you said there's nothing worse than eating a slug barefoot, and I'm like,
That's even more disgusting.
Slug, period. You can be barefoot. You can have socks on. It doesn't matter. Why would you want it that close to your mouth?
it's like an oyster.
Oh no.
Nope.
Fine, Leaf, keep going.
Yeah.
Say something.
Right. Yes, we'll do that. Yes, we will go and continue on. Note that there was no Lotro beacon this week because Jerry was busy doing other stuff this week between
Like Beyond DDO Players news.
Beyond DDO Players News, having to deal with 2 expansions that are getting ready to come out, get world transfers being re-enabled and all that fun stuff.
Just, a light week. Not much going on.
Then let's head into what's on sale this week. Terry, what do you get from the store this week?
Well, the coupon code is good for people who aren't VIP. It's called Rent a Vendor, and it's repair and sell services for 6 hours, now through October 22nd. And then 25% off select expansions and expansion quests, enhanced XP supply, and the Hornberg token, which is an XP supply bonus that you put on your back. Skirmishes and instances, and 100% market acquisition boost now through October 22nd.
Also, I've seen, I think, the 6-hour rent-a-vendor thing. It doesn't actually stop if you log out. It's like 6 hours, period.
Yeah.
Yeah,
6
6
hour
hours
real
of
time.
real time.
Yeah.
Thus, I suggest you only get that if you're in a situation where you're going to be logged in for a while. Or you're really desperate to sell something, since it is a free coupon code. And if you don't think you'll be needing it that desperately again before things come out. Now, Terry Adams, of course, says it's most useful for if you are not VIP, since the VIPs get that little thing that they can get, which gives you a rent a vendor along with other things. Though I had a character a couple weeks ago where I was stuck in the Balewood, and I did not want to leave the Balewood, and my bags were getting stuffed in there. And if this were the coupon code that week, I probably would have typed that in, because there was no way I was leaving the Balewood and coming back into it, because it's such a pain to get to and from there. So there might be unusual situations where a VIP might even be finding it useful.
Yeah, my first thought was if you're going to be on for 6 hours, like if you're running the Rift.
4 hours.
Who would go? Yes, but if you were... Yeah, okay, if you're not VIP, then yeah, that might be useful then, if you're running the Rift, especially since that the repair service could come in really
Yeah.
handy then. And if you're a VIP and you're getting ready to run the rift, then you really need the VIP bonus, since that also keeps you from taking damage.
Well, it doesn't keep you from taking damage,
well,
but it
yeah,
keeps your
I meant
gear
your
from getting
items.
damaged.
Yes, your items from taking
Let's be a
damage.
little clear here.
Yeah, let's click this and then do tier 3 for Shelob.
Let's not have all the creeps coming after the VIPs because they don't take damage anymore. We got enough problems in the moors without stirring up that.
Oh boy. Yes, there is that. Let's then head into our site news, where we have chapter 11 of A Berg's Tale, where I'm pretty sure our hero is, or anti-hero, if might be almost a better word for this, where our hero slash anti-hero, Morgendir, is finding what trouble he can get into in town.
Yes, we are still on the mission of I still have 24 hours to go before he can actually continue reasonably on his mission to find Radagast, and follow in the game. So he wants to be sedated, and that's kind of that is kind of what happens in a nutshell when we start off, when we have the chapter is. He decides to try some of the ales at the Prancing Pony, and finds that they're a little stronger than he actually thought. Like Barliman's Best, he finds it delicious, this ale, but then trouble happens afterward. And this was actually the fun part, because we weren't sure how much the ales and drinks and stuff were at the Pony. So we wound up doing some research, not just for how much they were, but also how strong they were for your character. So we tried, someone would try one, and it was like, oh, I'm only merry, because of that. And then we tried Barliman's Best, and it puts you into like you've muddled your wits with just the one drink, and you're like, oh my, that's pretty strong. So we were doing some science experiments, I guess you'd say, at the Pony one evening for to help me with my writing. And the amount that they were actually, you had to pay, kind of translated over to some of the, wait a minute, he only got like 3 silver for that whole turtle thing, and it's like Barliman's Best is like what, 3 silver and 50 copper or something. It's something extraordinarily like that, and it's like it just totally, it's like, yeah, he couldn't even get a good pint at the the Pony for what he got paid for his turtles. The whole thing, shenanigans there. Which, if we had, as Terry mentioned, if we'd actually thought about it before with the last chapter, he could have, thrown that comment in there that I didn't even get paid enough to,
Not even
buy
enough
any,
for a decent beer.
good drink at the Pony. Yeah, enough for a decent beer. So I kind of tried to sneak it in there in this chapter somewhere where there was that. But yes, one of the things that I figured out we could do was that at some point, you're supposed to get a letter from the mayor about, after you do the whole, put the wandering shade and his brother to sleep again. You get a letter saying, hey, come meet me. And, that took up a little bit of time. And then I had to figure out what else he could do. And I realized that there were, we could always go out there to, Grimbriar, because that's actually on the way towards Sardines Cabin, which we don't quite get to, because we see Grimbriar, and it was Grimbriar and his little dwarf friend, Lofar. I keep on wanting to call him Lo-Fi, and then I'm like, that's not it. I think that's another dwarf somewhere. But
He's a
yeah,
DJ.
so Yeah, he's a DJ. DJ Lo-Fi.
Could be a minstrel trainer.
Yeah,
There you
minstrel
go.
trainer. But because he's an L, he's probably a hobbit. He's not a dwarf, he's a hobbit because the L conspiracy, we've decided. But needless to say, we get him talking to Grimbriar, and I was actually almost done with the chapter when I suddenly realized, what? And I was looking up some of the stuff using the information from the wiki, and you actually have to do these Grimbriar things as a prereq before you can actually go to Adso's camp and deal with the brigands there, which I've already said he's done. So I was like, no, I have to. I had to erase so much and go back up to a certain point and figure out, now what do I do? And what I did was pretty much just have him, Grimbriar, like, following along the script, and then it's like needle scratch. And it's because, I couldn't go that far. And instead, we have Morkendir basically saying, oh, by the way, I took care of some of these brigands. Are you sure that there have been, these attacks and stuff have been happening in the last couple of days? And Grimbriar had to reply something along the lines of, oh, well, I'll double check on that. So I kind of, slowly, just like in a football game, just, you couldn't get me. But I then focused on getting back the sword for his little dwarf friend, which will actually happen in the next chapter because, But
Yeah,
he's going off on that.
Actually, since you did Adso's camp, don't you get a letter from Sardin after finishing that series?
Yes, I realized that too.
Okay.
Because suddenly we it's like, okay, you have to go to Sardin for the first time and go talk to Radagast after you talk to Gandalf, because he's going to send you there. And yet, you're going to get a letter from Sardin like he already knows you. And I'm just like,
Those rangers have their finger on the pulse of Breland.
Apparently. Someone has that, Dunedain, seer, like,
Well, when he
dreaming
gets
thing
to
happening.
Sardin can be like, I was going to send you a letter. No, I don't have to do that.
Yes, I heard about you in the last 24 hours. I was going to send you a letter.
You saved me the trouble of hunting you down.
Yeah. You saved me the trouble of hunting you down. Funny you should mention that, because I've been trying to get to you, and I'm hunting down Radagast. So we'll get there, but at one point, well, there's a couple of nice little mentions here, but at one point, in the when you're sitting there talking, talking to Lofar, he's one of them. Basically, I think it's him. He comments to you in the script on the game that you look like a warrior, a strong warrior, and Morkendir couldn't let that slide.
Yeah, I know. I sometimes make a joke on that when I'm playing Pine Leaf and someone says that something like to me, "Look, you're looking at a hobbit here."
Yeah. So Morkendir literally looks down at himself and looks back up the dwarf, and it's like, you've got to be kidding me, right? You're joking, right?
Really?
So that's kind of chapter 11. It kind of ends, it feels a little abruptly, but that's because A, I was running out of time, and B, it's actually a kind of a good place to kind of pause and then finish it up in the next chapter before moving on, because it's like, okay, I'm fixing to head into danger, not that he's really thinking it's dangerous. Also, there's the whole life thing of Grimbriar wanting you to go check out this, this farmhouse and this farmstead before, you're like, but he wants you to check out this farmstead, and it's like, well, what do you want me to bring back? And of course, in the game, it's like, I'm not sure quite what I want you to find and bring back, but it's like,
See if there are any
You want me
clues.
to go, you're not sure where to look for you don't know what. Why?
Yeah. Well, at least Thornley's is right across the street from Sheridan. So.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to have to mention the fact that actually Sardines Cabin is kind of well hidden off there to the side, and so that we don't actually like ride by going, oh hey, I guess that's Sardines Cabin, because yeah, that's not going to work for my timeline.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have to figure something out for him to rest a little bit longer.
It could be a long ride to Weathertop. It'll probably take a couple of days for him to ride over there.
Well, yes, but I don't think the issue is that. I think the issue is, oh, hey, the whole Gandalf was on top of Weathertop. Yeah.
That's right, because Sheridan saw the lightning, yes.
Or Radagast did, or something like that. Someone saw it, and Radagast, had to go, and until that actually happens, then, in the timeline, I can't actually talk to Sheridan and have him say, oh, he saw the lightning and he left. It's like, yeah, because it hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
And I've already done that once, okay? I've gone and defeated brigands without actually, doing the prereqs for it first. So,
well, don't worry
for my story, but so we'll just kind of pretend like that didn't happen.
Well, I'm trying to think of any time where I ever done ADSO after doing that section. Because I've always done ADSO well before I've done him, if I've ever done him.
Yeah, because I don't know if maybe they changed it and forgot to mention on the wiki, but yeah, if you look at the wiki, it actually says with Grimbriar for the quests there that there are some prereqs that he gives you before you can actually do like Adso's Camp, the one that's actually called Adso's Camp.
Oh, that's
and he sends you off to it.
He might send you off to it, but yeah. But actually, there's also a vector to Adso's Camp from Buckland, and that's usually the vector that I take.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was like, well, let's just not. We won't play with it like that. So
yeah.
So yeah, chapter 11 is shenanigans. The Morkendir basically hearing at this guy talk and going, "Don't do it, don't do it. I can pay you. Don't do it. Don't." He's telling himself, just forget about it. No, you're not going to help him. And then all of a sudden it's like, how much you going to give me?
Okay. No. See, Sam wrote that, why don't you just edit the episodes, say you didn't read that earlier, but then I'm sure that Calabathian is doing the Tolkien approach to retconning, which is to build the inconsistency into the story.
Yes. Yes. Of course, some of this inconsistency is not really my fault. It is. It was already built into the game, and I'm following the game. So,
well, there is that. But
so yes, I'm working with the inconsistencies as best I can. It's there are only happy accidents in art.
Well, yes, that is true.
But yeah, very interesting stuff going on. I mean, it'll take him a little bit to get to Weathertop, but I'm probably not going to have adventures on the way there, because if he's riding from Sheridan's Camp, it's a long enough ride anyway.
Yeah.
He might get chased by wolves or something, because that seems to happen a lot. But
let's then head into our main section for this week's episode, which is our Update 27 review. So Update 27 is a relatively small update compared to some of the others, because the main thrust of that update, of course, was the Great Wedding and the new Midsummer Festival. And as usual, when we do an update review, we first talk about the epic story. And this time it is an epic story rather than a Black Book of Mordor or...
So, spoiler warning.
Yes, because this is a spoiler warning for Volume 5, Book 1 of the epic story. And unlike most epic story, this is actually variable level, meaning you can do this at virtually any level. You might have to be level 10 or something like that, maybe.
I think you've got to be out of the. Well, you have to be out of the intro anyway.
Yeah, you have to be out of the intro. That's it. So you have to.
At least level 7 to 10, because I think
5.
my character that's
minimum
out of
level 5.
5, yeah.
Yeah. So you got to be at least level 5 in which to do this quest. But other than that, you be at any level. So unlike the rest of the epic storyline, where the last bit of the epic that you did before this, you had to be 115, for example. Well, I guess you might be a few levels below that if you really wanted to. Actually, no, 105. Actually, yeah, you had to be 105, or at least within 5 levels of 105 if you were going to be able to do that. That's right, because Professor Olson, I think, finished at level 103. And actually, tonight he's heading into Mordor at 103. And everybody's saying, "Good luck, Professor!"
Oh boy.
Well, you don't have to worry about that, though, for Volume 5, Book 1, because it's a very much a story book that we have here, as opposed to a heavy combat one or anything like that, because this is a time for celebration, the time in which we are having the great wedding that has been hinted at for however long. So remember, if you don't want any spoilers about the Great Wedding, then I suggest either skipping ahead by maybe 15 minutes, I think might be sufficient for this one.
Yeah, this should be a short recap.
Right. And the other, or you could just, if you're not in the live audience, you could pause the listening to the episode and take your character to the Great Wedding and then come back afterwards. Because while the festival part is seasonal, the Great Wedding is open all times of the year because they don't want to lock people out of a part of the epic storyline for 50 weeks of the year.
That, and it's just rude to invite someone to a wedding and then not let them attend the wedding.
Yes, there is that. Then let's get into the story where you arrive in Minas Tirith, where you speak with King Alessar, Aragorn, Strider, or whatever you want to call him, because he's got more names than I could ever keep up with. And of course, they are waiting for. He's long anticipated this wedding, of course, because he's been anticipating it probably longer than several of our characters have been alive.
Yeah, he's that. He's kind of. He has that longevity thing going, though he looks human.
Yes, yes, there is this extra longevity that he has in here, and he's decided that Mithrandir is probably not the best one to prepare the wedding for us, so we have decided to recruit some Gondorians to do it. And then he points you to Rodwin, who is in the throne room, who is the person leading the efforts to plan the wedding. And of course, Rodwin is a little bit on the nervous side upon meeting you. Probably even more so if you've done certain quests.
Yes, because she looks awfully familiar.
Yes, she looks awfully familiar. And she has to have a little private discussion for you away from the throne room.
Which is really hard to find if you're not... It's like, where does she want us to meet her again? Because you run around trying to find her, and then it's like, oh, You have to make like a direct right after. Yeah, she was
Yeah,
hiding.
yes, and she wanted to be out of the way as possible. In fact, it's probably easier to find her through going in the other way, because that's how I found her the first time, was going through the other way by accident. Then I eventually found the shortcut way and found out what she was talking about. It says, "Oh, when you say you go to the Arch of Flowers and then turn left, you meant a very immediate left. Don't go through that door that's right in front of you. Just turn left right away and head up those stairs."
Also, go through the Arch of Flowers. Which one, Rodwin?
Well, there is that little detail also.
We are in the middle of a wedding, Rodwin.
A royal wedding.
There's lots of arches with flowers on them, Rodwin.
Well, she's
Maybe
trying to
she-
throw.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry to interrupt, Pine Leaf, but I think we were going to say the same thing. It's like maybe she didn't want to be found.
Yes, that's it. In any case, we do meet with her, and yes, she is the same Rodwin that we met at the wall in Rohan.
Was it Rohan or was it there near the two big statues?
Well, it's a little bit beyond the Niagara, so it's hard to tell whether that was technically part of Rohan or technically part of Gondor. I think it's because it's on the upside of Rauros. I think it's probably. I don't think it's very
technically
easy for.
considered part of Rohan, the East Wall.
Yeah, the East Wall, technically part of Rohan, so it's not a part that they settle all that much.
It's Gonhan. Or would that be Rodor?
Well, yeah. Well, with what happened to Rodwin, there it was more like Rod Loss or Road Loss. Yes.
Hey.
Anyway, she had somehow come back from that little encounter with us after, and came back after all those misadventures there, thinking maybe it's best for us not to be adventurers. Now, it took them time before they were convinced of that, because they arrived after the war was over. And somehow, one of her companions talked in such a way that people became convinced that they were expert wedding planners.
I still wonder what this person was saying to convince people that they were wedding planners when they look like adventurers.
I have a feeling they doffed the adventuring clothes by that time. Whatever is the case, they wound up in a position of being put in charge of planning the wedding, and they've got no idea of what they're doing, of course. So we're asked to help them a little bit.
Of course we are.
Now, of course, the exact text that you get in there depends on whether or not you did the stuff in the East Wall, of course, because that's what happens in there. Once you have all that fun bit in there, you now go to another member of their party, and there you learn that they got some expert wedding advice from hobbits. Now, first off, asking expert wedding advice for Gondorian traditions from people who are not from Gondor is probably not the brightest idea in the world.
What? Come on!
And then you find out that they asked several hobbits, and that Sam, I get the impression, gave some reasonable advice. But of course, the ones who gave the most advice were apparently Merry and Pippin. And you know what's going to happen there. Thus, they told him of the great tradition of something old, something new, something borrowed, and everything blue. Thus, we are then sent to find this wedding planner, and we do see that he's got this huge amount of blue decorations. Sam
But you
says,
can
"Mary,"
actually see
like from Pippin.
from where you're talking to Merry and Pippin if you look over the edge of the wall, which is pretty epic.
Yeah.
Although Sam does mention about the whole wedding that he does wish that they've shown us any dwarf weddings in the game. They've
Well,
only just gotten dwarf women in the game, so and they're apparently very rare. Only about a third of the dwarf population are female, so
right.
lots of dwarves never actually do get married. Yeah, this may be why we keep seeing them around all these ladies in Bree. Is
Never thought about that. Then is the wedding planner who got all those blue fireworks? Now I wonder if any of the other advice they gave me was decent. For example, they told me that this guy Gandalf is a wizard who could create great fireworks. And he said, and we do assure him that yes, Gandalf does have some fireworks. So he sends this to Gandalf, or Mithrandir, I guess is what he's called in this city. And he's got more names than even Aragorn does.
he's been alive a lot longer.
Well, there is that.
I think the only person with maybe more names than Gandalf or any of these other wizards would have to be Bom Bombadil. Because he's been alive the longest of all.
Well, yes, there is that. So we go to Mithrandir, and we tell him, did he bring any fireworks to Minas Tirith? And of course he says, no, of course he didn't. Of course, he says this in such a way that makes it sound like that. All right, no, I don't have any. And they said, "What? You didn't hear the rest? You didn't wait for the rest of my tale?" He says, "Of course, I acquired some since then." So he
Did you
sends,
acquire them or make them?
well, whichever way. I'm sure he made some of them. His probably usual way of acquiring them. Probably acquires those that he doesn't normally manufacture. He manufactured others. So he sends us up to his room and says to get the small number of fireworks that are way, way too small for his needs. We go into there to search for the fireworks, and I suggest that when you do this quest that you bring a wheelbarrow.
And also read the text that comes up.
Oh yeah, read the text that comes up. Yes.
Yeah, there's no way that tiny little crate could hold everything that you pulled out of there.
Well, you got to remember, it's a wizard's crate.
That's true. So it's like Mary Poppins' bag.
Yeah, like Mary Poppins' bag. I was going to say a TARDIS, but I think Mary Poppins' bag might be more appropriate for this.
It's a bag of holding.
A bag
There
of
you go.
holding. That. Yes, the inspiration for the bag of holding. So we bring this huge amount of fireworks in there, and we bring it back to Mithrandir, and then we learn after that Gimli has gone with the dwarf member of that fellowship, where they went to the Splintered Shield in which to devise some marriage vows for the couple.
Because you totally want your marriage vows to be drawn up by a dwarf.
Drunk
Yeah.
dwarves.
Drunk
Yeah.
dwarves, yeah. Not just any dwarf. Drunk dwarves.
We go there, and we find them. We wake them up and get a promise from the barkeeper to provide some drink for the wedding. We talk to Gimli, and eventually he reads some of the vows. Some of them are decent. One of them looks like when you see Arwen standing at the actual wedding later on, looks like that she is ready for that one. We will vanquish all of our foes.
And her grandma's gonna be right behind her.
Yes.
You messed up this wedding then.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to be on the wrong side of her grandmother. Then once he does this, he then runs into a piece of paper where somebody is talking about that no one should forget about Castamere, which is probably not the thing to bring up during this wedding. So obviously this is some malicious person who put this reference to Castamere in there. And of course, then they explain to you the story of Castamere, where because of where you had the whole kin strife that was in there because people didn't trust the heirs to the king of Gondor because they were afraid that him marrying someone from the north was going to thin the bloodline. And no one there, of course, probably thought it through that, let me see, or probably didn't have the background knowledge to know that, let me see, Aragorn is about to marry the niece of the niece of the founder of the royal line of Numenor. She's unlikely to thin the Numenorian bloodline. But that's not what they're talking about. But anyway, they have this potential unrest that's brought into there. We talked to Aragorn. Aragorn says the people will accept the queen, and there will not be a repeat of any disasters that happened with Castamere. So short of that, we are sent down to the gates to greet the arriving wedding party, where we see the arrival of Elrond, of Galadriel, of Celeborn, and of course of Arwen herself.
I still want her travel outfit.
Oh yes. Some players are looking at the wedding dress, but some of us are looking at the travel outfit.
I was looking at the travel outfit when I first saw it.
Yeah.
I just still cannot get over how we're going through all this, and our, Mithrandir, Gandalf is even kind of worried about this whole Castamere thing, and you take it to Aragorn, and Aragorn's like, ignore it. Go meet my future wife down at the gate. And I'm like, this is not going to end badly at all because
Aragorn says so.
Yeah, because Aragorn says so. Yes,
they're going to accept her and as the queen and as a person, and okay, that's all. No worries. And it's like, yeah, I imagine that's exactly what the guy who created the kin strife thought when he married his wife, and because wasn't she actually from like Rune or something? She was
from the Northlands, I think, from the Hill Tribes up near Angmar.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, I knew it, but yeah, I knew it was something. There was something going on there that they people were like, no.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Sam says that it might have been from the Proto-Rohirrim instead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another possibility. In other words, a tribe from the north.
Yeah.
Then we have the wedding itself, where we have Gandalf telling us all, going into a great long-winded speech that I'm sure everyone really was anxious to hear. Yes.
I had to laugh when I realized that he's going out there, that it's a great day for a wedding, but don't there's still evil out there, by the way, don't let your guard down. It's like, dude,
let us have a day of fun.
And then it only gets worse.
I like what he says. Traditionally, the bride and groom exchange rings, but let us dispense that tradition.
We're going to skip that for this one.
Such a good line.
And then people are
Then
coming up with all their, later. Then they want to make all the speeches, and Elrond is emo.
so
Oh,
yeah,
oh Lord. Okay,
we
continue. Sorry.
we go through the entire wedding then and survive that. Some parts you remember are probably actually there isn't much in the book on that one. Probably almost nothing in the book, so they're pretty much free on most of the dialogue they had in there.
Well,
So we got them there. They exchanged the
except for the
vows.
Sam thing, I think. Sam gives a little speech or does a poem or something in response to Elrond, and wasn't that in the books? Because people were mentioning that they were happy that it was included because of something like that. That it may have happened in the books too. So they were
I
actually really happy.
I don't remember there being anything of that sort in the book, though. I think perhaps they're happy that they're showing the transformation on Sam because at the very, very beginning, the chances of Sam writing a poem of any sort seemed rather small. But of course,
Well,
it happens as you go along in the book. He gets more and more that way, like what he does for Mithrandir's farewell when he's in Lothlorien.
hmm see, I don't think this was one that he wrote. I think it was one from the Shire that he remembered, and he was
Oh,
actually speaking. And it was the one about the what blooms from the snows, after the
ah,
snows and
okay,
everything.
all right,
So yeah.
okay. That's another pause. See, little details that someone brings up that I've forgotten. In any case, when this is all over, then Gandalf starts his tiny, tiny fireworks show, which would put the 100th anniversary fireworks show in New York City to shame.
Gosh darn it.
If
He
that's a
just feels
tiny
so bad.
fireworks show, then I would love to see what a massive fireworks show is,
Yeah,
according to Wizard standards.
Yes.
yeah, I was just like, man, if he's just kicking himself, man, I'm so sorry. Yes. Such a dude, what?
All right.
And he's had like how many months now?
Yeah.
After the war, before this happens, and he's only got this tiny quote unquote amount.
Yes.
Oh gosh darn, what are we going to
All right.
do?
Yes. Well, Sam says concerning the poem mentioned by Sam that it was essentially done to the tune of "The Road Goes Ever On."
Ah. So Sam is talking about Sam.
Yes.
Or song. Okay.
Yes. Well, yes, because he's thinking about his own future perhaps a little bit there also. And
Sam Burke,
anyway,
Lotro songwriter.
we survive the wedding. We have this magnificent fireworks display that that only Gandalf would think was insufficient. And then after that, we have the wedding banquet or the reception. And of course, all the awkward things that happen at wedding receptions. And we run into them.
Yeah, we kind of have that conversation, and that's exactly what happens at the wedding reception.
Yes, all sorts of things happening there. And we survive. When we get to there, we talk to various people all through, going through in there. And of course, the wedding reception, near the end of that, we have the arrival of Terry Adwin's favorite gate crasher.
Middle-earth's worst party crasher.
Yes, Middle-earth's worst party crasher.
Stupid
Who
bear.
brings the circus?
Who brings the circus. But probably the best thing on the banquet, of course, is when you are summoned down to bring some wine to some rather strangely clothed people.
And at first you think, man, it is the reception, and I'm fixing to have to go fight someone.
And you go out there, and it turns out to be the entirety of the Great Company.
That's
Well,
left.
Okay, those that are left, yes.
Speaking of spoilers,
Well,
Hey,
we
we
haven't
gave-
technically
we gave
lifted
a
the spoiler
spoiler warning.
embargo.
Yes, so we meet with the Great Company, and they give us a toast for all the help that we gave them throughout Volume 4.
And they're the only ones who have ever done so.
Volume 3 and Volume 4, actually. 2 whole volumes where we helped them.
And even then, they're literally the only ones who have ever given us any kind of props for doing all this work.
Well, they should, because we do all their work.
Yeah. I mean, the mayor gives us a reward and thanks us in like Volume 1 or the prologue or the intro or whatever for helping with the haunting in Bree, and you don't get another one of those until Volume 5 when they toast you. The Rangers do.
Well, I think you get a couple other thank yous here and there. Though perhaps they are maybe few and far between.
Yeah, they are definitely a little on the sparse side.
Yes.
I have been kidnapped and I've been imprisoned. I have been hurt. I have been shot. I have been stabbed. I have done all this dirty work, and I have been in water and swamps and what? We go like 4 whole volumes before someone raises a toast to me and says thank you for your help. We couldn't have done it without you. I saved this wedding.
For some reason, I Will Survive started playing in my head while you were saying that.
Yes, we do get some props from Aragorn and Bingo. In fact, I was thinking about Bingo myself in relating to this because Bingo does give you a real nice thank you at the end of the party that you have in there.
Mhm. And then Aragorn is like, thank you, but, don't expect another one from me because, king. I'm like, what? I put you in this position. I can take you out.
And that's how Lotro became a villain origin story. Key theme, always say thank you.
Yes. That was the great wedding. Anything else to say about the wedding?
I still want to be able to slide over those floors.
Well, there is that. Then, of course, going with this, there was also a Midsummer Festival, which was, of course, a temporary thing that came on, that was launched at the same time. It had the festival, but after a few weeks, the wedding festival, because it was no longer midsummer, of course, the festival went away for another year, though the location of the festival is still open. But yes, anybody have anything you want to say about the festival? It's a festival, so you're going all over the city doing things, catching fireflies, and
well, that's the one thing I was going to mention. Is like the only thing that knocks points off for me for this thing is, I wish that they would make the firefly respawn a little bit quicker.
I thought they did that way near
No,
the
even
end.
when they did it, still
Even
takes
they
a while.
did, it was even they did. There was so many people trying to get the title, so many people that it was just it was frustrating. You just had to be patient and wait. Sometimes you get a group of people hanging out that we'd all just kind of stay in one spot and grab the 1 or 2 that were near us, and we'd all move on then. Just wait, until we got everything. But for the most part, yeah, there were people riding around hoidingly, just trying to grab from anybody.
Well, because as with any festival, it has have people who are jerks.
Yeah, there are always people who go around and doing things just to be obnoxious. But that was but yes, it was essentially going out onto the landscape. Or actually, that was the only thing on the landscape. I think everything else was within Minas Tirith.
I
And you
think
go
you're
all
right.
over the place in there with quests, doing errands for people, trying to do what happens at festivals, I guess.
Of course, the fun, and I guess the other side of being in Minas Tirith is that when you get to Minas Tirith at the very end, and you have to go through, before the war hits, you kind of, I guess, your way around. But then again, how many versions of Minas Tirith are there? Maybe you don't. I have yet to get there, so I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm just
I
guessing.
think we're up to like 12.
12, let's see. We have the one you arrive to when you first get there. It's before the siege. You have the siege version, which you have when you're going through the epic storyline. You have you have the version that's during the epic battles, I guess.
Well, I know when Minas Tirith first hit the game, they said there were like 7 different versions of the city.
Yes. Yeah, there probably were 2 for the. There might have been 2 for the epic battles, since there were 2 different epic battles, and they would have been at different stages there. Then you have whatever one you had for during the epic finale when you starts thinking that there's something weird going on. Then you have the post battle one. Then you have the Midsummer version, and I'm
Don't forget
sure
the
there might.
tiny one.
The what one?
Well,
There's a tiny model one that counts as
yeah,
a version of Minas Tirith.
yeah, all right, yeah. Then we have. Well, there are two. There are actually 2 versions of that model.
That's right. There's 2 versions of that model.
Because there's one that's intact and the other one that's been vandalized. So yes, a huge number of versions of Minas Tirith. I'm sure we'll run into 1 or 2 more as time goes on.
Yeah, because Volume 5 starts in Minas Tirith, so yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen next there. And of course, that'll lead us then to the landscape itself. And the landscape is pretty much Minas Tirith Midsummer. This is Minas Tirith prettied up and populated.
Thankfully, you don't have NPCs going, shame you couldn't see it in better days.
Thank goodness! Yes, we finally get to see Minas Tirith in better days. Thus, the theaters look crowded and well populated with people hoping to see good performers. We've got flowers strewn all over the place, and bunting and banners. And of course, people all over the place, as opposed to the depopulated, mainly soldiers version that you've got when you're at the war.
So, didn't we actually have at one point someone saying, "Shame you could get in better days," and we commented on that as a group? At some point, I could have sworn it was, and someone was like, I think it might even have been Terry, like, "What do you mean? See it in better days? These are better days." I can't remember who said that.
Leonori wished that.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say he's disappointed that we can't cavort in the nice green Pelennor.
Yeah, because it'd be nice to have Pelennor prettied up also.
Sam agrees with me and says they didn't change what the NPCs say, so they still say the pre-reading Minas Tirith things.
They got to amend that at some point.
Or just leave it for the hilarity.
There's still an elf in Felaggoth that thinks he's in Lothlorien. What are you talking about? He's been down in the wine cellar too long.
There is that. There are always confused NPCs in this game. So you have, that's pretty much the landscape, is a pretty version of Minas Tirith. Finally one that is Minas Tirith should be. Now, is there anything else that anyone remembers is part of this update that I might have forgotten? Because all I remember is the Great Wedding, the festival, and of course, Midsummer Minas Tirith.
Well, if you do the quest, you get that lovely, lovely horse, as Mary Rose pointed out, and they give you the worsty cosmetics for it.
Which is awesome.
Well, yes, there is. You do have some nice little cosmetics that you can get through all of this, but of
And
course,
steeds.
and
Yeah, because you could get the horses, not just the one that you get at the end of the epic quest line, but the stuff that you can actually get through the festival.
yes, all sorts of usual festival rewards. Now,
Except the one that likes to drop out of the box randomly. I was lucky enough to have it drop, I think, once or twice, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
So if you want more details on the Midsummer Festival, Fibro Jedi will probably be a good source for going into detail on all of that stuff.
I do know that the one thing that I never really got into was the crafting stuff during the festival.
Oh, I don't think I did any of that.
Yeah, I didn't either. You get stuff for crafting when you go out through Bree and Dweeland and I think Thorin's Gate and I want to say the Party Tree.
Yeah,
something
most
like
likely.
that. That's where you'll get some stuff for that. But yeah, that's also where some of the, since it's a festival, that's all the major festival places are you can do some stuff for.
Places where low-level people can go.
Yeah, if you wanted to do not just crafting, but just be involved in some of the festival-related quest lines.
Became Shine Dwarf Beards.
Shining dwarf beards, yes.
Yeah, I didn't do anything really at the. I might have done one or two quests that were at the other hubs, but I really didn't do anything major outside of it because I completely forgot all about those quests.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of one of the things that's in not in its favor is that you have to go from Minas Tirith to literally like across the entire known world to do some
and
of this
unlike
stuff.
other festival thingies, you have to pay to go back to Minas Tirith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to pay the first time that you're going up and down in Minas Tirith, but then once you do that the first time, all the rest of the stuff opens. And it's free. But that first time you have to pay, which I'm like, what?
No, not all of them are free. Some of them
not
are
all of
free
them
and some of them aren't. And unless you're paying attention, you probably won't notice. Or if you're short on silver, you might notice.
They're not cheap either.
Yeah, I could have sworn that during the festival, at least going up and down, the Minas Tirith circles, that once you opened that first one and paid for it, that the rest of them you didn't have to pay for.
Mm-mm.
No,
I
it
seem
was
to
hit or
recall
miss.
that. Well, I seem to recall. I thought there was some directionality to it. You had to pay to go up, but it was cheaper going back down the tiers.
It's sort of like toll bridges at New York City, where you had to pay the toll going into New York City, but you don't pay a toll going out.
That could be.
Save on traffic, Maybe
You're
not.
You're decreasing the number of motor vehicles on the island. Congratulations! You get to leave for free.
There
I was
is
going to
that.
say they have to pay for all those flower wreaths and garlands somehow.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Still not as bad as the prices of stuff in Moria to travel.
Oh yeah, those dwarves are greedy.
Anything else then to add relating to update 27? Then how about a little grade for it? Since Winda, what kind of letter grade would you give to update 27?
Solid A, but I would have really liked to ride out onto the Pelennor.
Terry Edwin?
I'm also going to give it an A because, you know what? It's a version of Minas Tirith in which you can ride a hobby horse.
Oh.
Oh, yes.
Some reason, yeah, the surprise for me is considering the theme of this one, I was surprised you gave it an A.
No, actually, I really, I love the story, and I don't mind Minas Tirith. I didn't do the Minas Tirith dailies, but that's not because I hated Minas Tirith. It's because I don't do dailies.
Right.
I actually really like Minas Tirith, so going back into Minas Tirith and being able to actually now that Minas Tirith is basically permanently in the game in a version that I can get to without spending like Mythril coins for every single time I go there, yeah, I'm all for it.
Oh,
I
and I think,
just had some issues with the unexpected wedding crasher at the end of the reception.
okay, I had thought that considering the bride, you're not exactly the greatest friend of the bride.
I'm not a friend of the bride, but you know what? Terry is Gondorian and Elisar is her king, and whoever he wants to marry, if it makes him happy.
You got a point there.
It's just because I rage quit the elf allegiance after Arwen told me how much it sucks. He's going to have the lifespan of a human now. That has no bearing whatsoever on my opinion for this part of the story. I actually really enjoyed the wedding quite a bit. And I loved being able to toast with the Rangers afterwards. It's funny because I've recently done that bit of the epic where they tell you that that you got to get together for a drink after all of this is over. So it was nice to remember that, hey, you're actually going to have that happen where you get together to have a drink after all of this is over. So yeah, that was pretty good. So yeah, solid A from me.
Solid A. Okay, Calabathian?
I'll say an A as well. Though I really do wish that we were able to jump down the well in So maybe that'll happen in volume 5 somewhere. I don't know.
Guerendis.
Also, an A, although I'm very tempted to give it an A minus because, like I said, the Firefly quest is just very frustrating. But
yeah,
but they did at least leave the thing we're not supposed to talk about in the Splintered Shield there. So
Yeah. I'll give it an A, and probably one of the things I got to add in there is that we finally have a version. Terry said we have a version of Minas Tirith that you can get to without having to spend a huge amount of coin and all this stuff. And we have a version that is friendly to performers, because I know some people have been wanting to perform at the Blue Theater, but getting people to get to the Blue Theater has always been a hassle under the old version. But now we have a Blue Theater that's nice, lively, active, and easy for low-level people to get to. And it's nice to see that something happy is happening in Gondor finally.
Finally.
Yeah. And Arendis?
Yeah, so this is the first time I actually get to rate something. So yeah.
I know, right? It's like, hey!
I know, in the history of the podcast, my first time. I am going to give it an A as well. This was not my first time in Minas Tirith, but it was one of the first times I'd been in Minas Tirith, so thank you to the team for letting Lobby players be able to come and participate. I'm geographically challenged, so thank you also for leaving all of the, well, not all of them, but most of the festival-related quests inside the city. That way you don't have Lobby players running all over landscape and dying for part of the festival. Yeah, I really enjoyed it and took a lot of screenshots, laughed a lot, and just thought it was all really well done.
Right. Thank you, Arendis. And then that means we've got straight A's for this year from Is that the first time we've given a?
I think so.
Yeah.
This update is an honor student.
Oh, well, and earlier we mentioned Fiber Jedi's Midsummer Festival Guide, and we do have a link for that after the ratings in the show notes in case you wish to find it. Then let's head into our week in Lotro then. Arendis, what were you up to?
This week, I continued to quest along in Rohan. Met some interesting characters in Cliving, including a pseudo Romeo and Juliet and a pseudo Karen, which made me laugh a lot. We also came across some role playing hobbits in the Shire last week after the podcast. All of us got together to work on some of the emote deeds. And these hobbits were role playing as bounders, and they were quote unquote afraid of my lore master's bear pit. But Calibathian pointed out they probably just wanted to make sure I had the right permit for it, which was awesome to run across. So I think that was the first time that I had ever come across role players in game. So it was pretty cool. I also participated in the Durance Day event with several characters. And that was an adventure in and of itself. As I've said before, I am very geographically challenged, and I've never been to Dale or Erebor. So my plan for this was to take a level 120 character, one of my Ariad 120 characters up there, just so I'm not pulling everything on landscape. So I did that. I was able to find it, went through the quest, got the verse title. So I said, okay, now I kind of know where it is. I'm going to pull out Arendis, who is about level 86 or so. It took me about 3 tries. Death happened multiple times. I could not find this path again for the life of me. But I finally got it up there, got through the quest, and I said, okay, I have a dwarf who needs this title super badly. And the only problem is he's level 18. Do I even want to attempt this? I attempted it. I died 3 times, but I made it and was super excited. At the end of that, I said, okay, well, I think, I think I have a couple characters that I want to maybe get the first title on later. I'll do that later. I was texting with a friend who also plays Lotro. His name is Kai. Shout out to Kai for the madness that ensued and after this. He said, don't you have a burglar that needs to go up there? And I said, yes, but she's level 8. That's 8, not any numbers after that. That's, before 10, 8. And he's like, you kind of need to try it. And I said, okay, fine. So I took my level 8 Hobbit burglar to Erebor, which is like a level 120, 130 zone. Surprised I didn't get killed on the steps of Erebor. It was very close. Stealth is not powerful enough to keep you in stealth at level 8. But if you have the Journeyman Riding trait and you're VIP and you can get a horse at level 8, you can get a level 8 Hobbit to the door. So my level 8 Hobbit Hunter, after much yelling and stress-inducing pathing, made it and now has the title.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. It was very stressful, but it was fun.
So
but
just,
that was
out of curiosity, the ones that you're holding off on getting the title for until later happen to be the ones that we usually run together?
I'm not sure if I can make it to the girls run on Sunday. So shout out to the girls who are going to try to do this on Sunday. So go to their Twitch channel to view this. So I went ahead and did a couple that we run together, but there's 1 or 2 that I haven't done that you guys, I normally play with you guys. So it was a mix.
Well, definitely, by the way, if you want to join the girls, that was open, wasn't it, Sans?
Oh yes.
Yes.
All the
Not
girls
just
are
watch,
welcome.
but Wait, did you say only girls?
I said all the girls.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so make sure that you come along, because it's going to be interesting. I think our characters are like level 40 something, 50 maybe.
The only advice that I will give you is to make sure you keep moving, because at level 8 and level 18, if you stop, like if you are hit at all, you're one shot. Level 86 on a regular steed and level 86 on a war steed, you have about maybe 2 to 3 hits before you're dead. So if you're around 40, as long as you might be able to take one hit. I'm not really sure, depending on gear and all that sort of stuff. But as long as you keep moving, even if you get lost, just circle back and go back up the steps if you can. You should be fine. But yeah, so that was my week. Calabathian, how was your week?
Well, first of all, the Academy, of which I have a version of Calabathian in there on Arkenstone, we gathered up an elf, a dwarf, and a man, really a woman, for a meeting with the ranger in Redacted, and it was about Redacted. I can't say because I can't say where we met because that was it's a secret. And I can't say what it was about because it was held in the secret place, and we were all sworn to secrecy by the ranger in charge of this secret place.
Is it secret like Ranger Secret has a road to it, or
Yeah.
secret
Yeah,
like
and
an
like all
actual
the stable
secret?
masters know about
Yeah.
it too, but it's been being redacted lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
okay,
right. Yes,
gotcha.
it's the. All right. So, but it's a place of hope, I presume.
Yes, it's a place of hope. That is kind of in I guess you'd say the North Downs area, a little past that. If you can follow some paths through it to get to Angmar. Yeah. So
I mean, if you wanted to.
yeah, if you wanted to. I mean, who wants to go to Angmar? Kind of. I mean, have you seen the place? It's so yeah. And then of course we had Celevorn and Galabrilith helping a few Rohirrim in Dunland, who are just as lazy as the hobbits we've helped do literally everything in the past, except for catching rangers, because these Rohirrim seem really good at that. Because they have one tied up to a pole. I'm like, why do you have him tied up? Do you not like them? Okay, Grimbriar.
Grimbold.
Well, Grimbald, but yeah, Grimbriar and Bree doesn't like either.
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
Grimbold, he wasn't with the rest of Theodred's people in up by Tel Methodist, so he doesn't trust the Rangers, which is why he's got Darvin tied to a pole.
Yeah.
Which I'm always reluctant to free him, because I know he's just going to wind up in again.
Yes. As a matter of fact, related to the first part where we are in the redacted area, the place full of hope. I think he's actually standing just outside of the building we need to go in to talk to the person we need to talk to, who's sending us out to find the elf and the dwarf and the man who happens to be a woman. And I realized that and kind of stopped and kind of stared at him like, oh, Lord. If only you know what's happening to you later. And of course, Cassowary, which is, of course, the closest way I can make a Lord of the Rings version of the actual word cassowary, like the bird, aka Geralt of Rivia. He tanked for his high elf friend and a stout axe in the barrows. He can almost lay claim to the undying title, which, given his race and story, is hilariously apt. He's like 19 and a half at this point for his level. So yeah, I had kind of a light week there because I was busy doing a bunch of stuff. It's that time of the year. So Glorindus, how about you?
Well, I've been spending a lot of time on my Guardian this past week, and she is powering through the Epic Volume 1, currently in the Misty Mountains, in hopes of getting to level 50 so she can just go to Moria and forget about Volume 1 until later. Because, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to dip my toe into Angmar enough to unlock the stones, because one of the Guardian Class 50 quests I have to get to the other side to kill Tark Grips, I think. I don't think the ones in the marshes before that will work, but I will find out. Otherwise, off to Moria I go. On Thursday, after Durn's Day started, I saw Erebor on many alts, a level 66 Hobbit Hunter, and the Guardian was 44 at the time. She just dinged 46 this afternoon. A level 42 Champion, a level 38 Bjorning, and a level 31 Hunter. That was the only trip that was a bit of a problem. The other level 31 Hunter that was with me was following behind and got dismounted and then eventually got by, I think, a lynx.
The lynx dismounted and one-shotted me in one swipe.
Oh,
It was all at once. Just a little swipe
You
of
were
the paw
behind.
and I was gone. Yeah. It
and
was
bless
kind of
you,
funny.
and you were like, just keep running.
I'm like, don't stop
I
to
did.
look. It'll get you next.
Oh, yeah, and Brandis went up there too. Warders of the Weald had a concert on Bywater Bridge last night. 5 dwarves playing songs. I think they were practicing to celebrate our upcoming season here. Highlights including a version of Hotel California with lyrics about the Forsaken Inn, Orc Busters instead of Ghostbusters, and Purple Brains, sung in the voice, basically the lyrics in the voice of a white instead of Purple Rain. Yeah. So if you see Warders of the Weald on Landerval around festival time, stop and listen to the lyrics to the music they're playing. They are hilarious. Sanswinda, what all did you get up to this week?
This week my dwarf champion defended the forts of Eisen and made it into Standguard 4 war steeds. He's level 76 and doesn't have one yet. Something about following the epic properly or something.
I'm right there with you.
He is one step closer. It's just down the road now, and maybe his friends won't notice if he sneaks away.
We will notice.
Oh, surely they won't notice when you come back with an entire war steed.
I mean, it looks like a pony, neighs like a pony. Okay. And I made it into the Trollshaws with the epic on Arkenstone after visiting Redacted. So that was pretty fun. And was bribed to shoot the level 75 Cargul. We're on like level 40 characters with more cheese, but I declined the bribe, so you're welcome, everyone who was there. And I ran the Inn of the Forsaken twice at level 130, once on tier 2, and got the whole journal for my minstrel, but the instance was bugged both times, so we did not get to finish it, and that was sad. But it resulted in time to run some alts up Erebor, so I have fewer alts who need to go up on Sunday, so that's good. So that was my week. How was your week, Terry?
Well, my dwarf champion also defended the Forts of Eisen, because Axley and friends did that. That's 2 dwarf champions and a hobbit hunter, so it's a bunch of short people. But we still don't have war steeds. Yeah, I'm really not sorry, Sans, because yeah, we're gonna. This is how I keep her focused on the epic and not running off doing random things, is I tell her we can't do war steeds until we get there in the story. So we are super laser focused on the story, and yeah, we've made it to Standguard the first time, which isn't actually, Yeah, it's actually not all that close to Worsty. Sorry, because
Yeah, it's just down the road, though.
No.
Rats.
And then I also joined the field trip this week and talked to the group that was doing those Volume 1, Book 3 quests in Redacted. So I have a system for how I handle those quests, because you talk to a certain person and he tells you to round up the dwarf, the elf, and the human person. And I have a system, so I go do the dwarf thing, and then I go down and I talk to the elf dude, because he wants you to kill an orc thingy. And the orc thingy is on the way to Trestlebridge, so you can go do that, get to Trestlebridge, and then come back and turn all 3 quests back into the guy who sent us there in the first place. And then do the instance, and then you're all done with that book. It actually is the most efficient way to get it done. Not like I've done it like a zillion times or anything, but I've done it a bunch of times. And I actually hopped on Other Champion to do a little bit more work on the epic there. He's also sort of kind of looking forward to Moria. It's just because I'm so done with the epic volume 1. Can come back and do it later, right? Yeah, we can come back and do it later. Actually, I'm thinking that after he's done playing around in Numinous, because he's in Numinous right now, chasing down whatever's. I think once he's done playing in Numinous, he's actually just go do regional quests in Aragian to get to level 50, and then he can open up Moria and do that stuff. But I haven't actually decided yet. And yeah, for once I actually did stuff in game. Yay me! How was your week, Pine Leaf?
Let's begin with my main warden, who finished up Volume 4 of the Epics. No, Volume 3. Sorry, that's Volume 3 that I finished up, the Allies of the King. And I helped a man dressed in purple dance with a dragon.
The fish slap emote is made for that moment.
Was it the waltz or was it like the lambada? Because there's a world of difference between those 2 dances.
You know, it's a good question on there, but since the character I was doing that with is my only character who has the fish slap emote, I should have actually have used. In fact,
let me guess. The guy in purple was doing the Running Man.
Well, more like trying to run on coins, but yeah. But yes, that's what. So he did all that. So now I'm finally getting around to finishing up Bingo Boffin with that, and got up to the point where you meet the dragon. And then for the field trip, we completed book 3 and started book 4. After which, then we took care of a storm. No, actually, well, I guess more like we stormed Mythedra, so it was a little bit out of the timeline of what we're doing there, seeing how I suppose that a more appropriate skirmish to have run if we're going by appropriateness rather than by what we thought would get the best XP would have been Attack at Dawn, but actually I don't think, let's see. Yeah, I don't know if we all had it unlocked or not, but in any case, that might have been more appropriate for that. But we ran Storm of Methadras and took care of a few drakes along the way. Then on Friday Night Fights, we had the upper group level had only 3, so we decided to run the Keys of Harland, or I should say the other 2 people in my group decided to run the Keys of Harland because I didn't remember having any good memories of that particular one. And in fact, when we got finished with it, that I'm pretty sure is the first time that I've ever finished the keys on level. And I think if I've ever finished it before, we were just so massively over level that we just saw it for a story, and I probably missed half the story anyway because we, blowing by it. This is the first time I actually was in the midst of it and running it. I was surprised that we actually finished it because the first boss in there was just a pain. Let us just say on that. But we managed to finish it up and completed the keys. And that's it for my week in Lotro. And in news beyond Lotro, Darren Loremaster has another one of his tribute pieces for Tolkien. This is the song Balrog Slayers, which is written to the tune of Legends Never Die, the tune written by Against the Current. And he does provide the lyrics there as well as a YouTube link for the song itself.
One of these days, I want Pineleaf to sing one of these songs.
Why?
Like to the tune where it's for fun.
Well, first off, I probably don't know too many of these tunes all that well.
I know, that's why I've never asked. I didn't want to put you on the spot.
I think there are much better singers than me on this particular one. Maybe we could get... Well, Cinders is a music teacher. She must know how to sing.
That's true.
Yes.
We currently have 14 supporters on Patreon, and if you'd like to join this illustrious raid of players and help support Lotro players, you can go to the donations page. You can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money will be used for our podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. If you would like to support us without joining Patreon, you can contact Drac at lotraplayers.com. We did not receive any emails this week. But if you'd like to send one, you can send it to podcast at lotraplayers.com, and you can also follow us on Twitter at the Players Alliance at Players Ally, Lotra Players at Lotra Players, Arendis at Arendis, Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles, Sanswinda at Sanswinda, Terry Edwin at Terry Edwin, Guarendis at Guarendis, and Calabathian at Calabathian. The Players Alliance has 2 shows. On Wednesdays at 7 p.m. UC Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News, and on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. UC Eastern Time, we have Lotra Players News. You can stories for our shows at lotraplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Piney Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.